Hi, I'm Stacy Pingree, the founder of Radiant Financial Group and this Legacy Wealth podcast. We are super passionate here about hearing stories, really, success of friends, family, clients, building, wealth through real estate. So today we have, an amazing friend. He's an awesome guy, so I'm really excited about this one today. But we have Colin Belfield with us. And Colin is not only a licensed real estate agent, but he's also the owner of Centerline Homes, co-owner, I guess. You have a partner. I don't want to leave him out. Hurt his feelings. But he's also an original, the Litchfield Park OG, so I kind of wanted to have you tell your story about being here and what it's meant to kind of grow up in Arizona and especially in the West Valley. He's been in the trades for years. I know you evolved into real estate and you're now an incredible home builder. And there's so many questions that I get about home building every day and how it looks to decide to build versus, buy a resale home. So I'm super excited about today. So welcome.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
Yeah, of course. And if you can I would love to just hear, so we're good friends. I mean, I know a lot about you, but I was thinking I do know a lot about you, I guess. And you've got a son who's the same age as my daughter. So we've been close buddies for a long time with all the school stuff too. But I'd love to just hear your story and kind of, give us a little insight on how you got involved in real estate in the first place.
Sure. So I grew up pretty much born and raised in Goodyear. So within a mile or so of where we're sitting now. And for all my life, have lived in the West Valley. Folks moved here just a few years before I was born. My dad worked for Bechtel as a draftsman during construction at the nuclear plant out west in Tonopah. And so always grew up in the West Valley, graduated from Olive Free High School. And I would say my real estate and building journey really started doing some consulting work in the early boom of 2000 construction. Had sort of stumbled into a business opportunity doing development permits, rezoning, property splits, everything in that realm of
super fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, not to most. It wasn't.
Yeah, no.
But it came to really just be something that I became a niche for me. It's something that I understood really well. And for a good 8 or 10 years, stayed very busy doing that. That kind of led me into the real estate side, really being able to learn a lot about dirt and development from the ground up side of it. And so has come to be a very strong part of what we do at Centerline Homes too. There's not a lot of people that understand the true scope intimately, as an owner of the company, from acquiring dirt all the way through the back end of construction. So all of those things molded together. I did, various different parts of trades on the summers, even as a younger kid in high school. We had a good childhood friend whose folks owned a big concrete company. So all of us, during the summer were forming and pouring concrete. And so always little parts and pieces as growing up. But that's kind of a general backstory.
Amazing how that works, how you, all the little things you're doing along the way, you don't realize are going to plug into the puzzle, and be your story.
Yeah, for sure. And even part of that, so the consulting work that I was doing, there was maybe 10 or 15 different local West Valley builders at the time that I was doing all sorts of pre-construction tasks from a consulting standpoint, partly because they hated it and didn't want to have to do it, but partly just from a time standpoint. And so there was just a lot of knowledge gained, I think, during that time frame of just understanding all the different building jurisdictions, all their different requirements, what's really going to go into the early side of pre-construction. So turned out to be much more valuable down the road as a builder now, having a very intimate understanding of what it takes to get through that phase and what a lot of the hangups could be. So
yeah, for sure. Your website and the stuff you guys post too is it's incredible to watch a project go from start to finish. I have so many clients that come in, and I know we've talked about this. We have joint clients that we work together with, but they get stuck. They feel stuck when they're out looking for a real estate in the resale market, and they're just not finding the home that they love. Right? Is that so? When do you think? I mean, as an agent, also, right, and helping people find a home. When do you kind of have that discussion about, well, there's an option, there's another option, you could build, or how does it come up? What
Yeah,
would
no,
you
that's
say?
great, because that does come up quite often, and I think typically it revolves around finding something that meets 6 of the 10 things they're looking for, right? They're not checking all the boxes, and that's a generic term, but you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's one that's widely used. Is we just are not finding that one that checks all the boxes. And so the common intro into considering custom building is that there are no limitations.
Yeah.
You have complete freedom to design, organize, layout, and build exactly the way that you want it to be. And so that's the intro into that path. As a matter of fact, I just met with a future customer last week. Same thing. They've a good realtor friend of mine referred some clients of his he's been showing homes to for a year, and they just have not been able to lock something down that's exactly what they want. And so I had an initial meeting with them, and he said, "Hey, when we're done, if you don't mind, can I send you a drawing that I've been kind of just playing around with making on my computer in this little design type program?" And so he sent it to me, and we had another follow-up conversation. I said, "That's perfect. You can have exactly that."
Yeah, you designed your own house.
Yeah, within some reason, right, from a structural standpoint, and making sure that it makes sense from a design and build standpoint. But that's the only way you can get that. But you can't do that as a buyer out searching. You can't say, "I need this layout. I want to make sure that they're split this way, and I want to have these separate rooms pulled across this way, and I want to make sure that each bedroom has its own full bathroom." Like that typically doesn't exist, and for various reasons, from cost and efficiency standpoint. Most of your production builders are looking to maximize the value and the return on what they're building. They're building the design that works the best for the return on their money. We're building a design that's best for what our homeowner needs, the way that they want to live, the way that they're going to experience life in that build. So,
I mean, is your typical, I love that, because so many people are excited right now about new builds. We talked about this before we started, the show here, but the new builds are now offering these big incentive, new build track home builders are offering these big incentives, and and so there's a big I guess that creates demand. You know what I mean? It creates an opportunity for people that are having affordability issues. What's the sweet spot for your building? I mean, what would you say, finished product wise? What do they typically, what's price range?
So price point, I'd say right around $1 million plus or minus 100 would be our average. Up to the $2 million range.
That's like kind of your sweet spot.
Yeah, and that's our sweet spot. I'd say, depending on market pricing and kind of where things are from a logistics cost standpoint, that fluctuates over the years. There was a time when 600 to 800 was the best bang for the buck in what you could design and build in that product. Land outside of that cost, but. I think that really gives a homeowner an opportunity to design what they want, the way they want it to lay out, the size that they want it, and and then fitted very nice from a finish standpoint.
I mean, as the lender on a lot of projects like this too, I always like to point this out. I mean, legacy wealth is such a big deal to me. Obviously, we want to. I mean, I say it that way. Building a home can create a lot of equity for you, right? If it's done the right way, and you're not just careless on what you're spending, because you can obviously blow through all your equity as well. But I know you help homeowners figure out what is going to be that kind of sweet spot. Like, we're going to spend $1.3 million, but when we're done, it's going to be worth $1.7 million. You know, like knowing that there's a built-in equity to the property and the project. And I think people don't really understand those numbers a lot of times. I think it's they go off to build because they just want something that they haven't been able to find. So it's out of a desire to find that. But I do love the idea that building builds equity on its own.
Yeah, and I think that I agree. That's a big part of it. I don't believe that you can buy a production built track home that's built with that same intention. We went through a great period, kind of early in the formation of Centerline, maybe 2019 to mid-COVID period, where we used to joke with our homeowners, and each home that we built during that period, 7 or 8 homes that we built in that couple year period, we offered to buy it for $100 more than whatever they had put in it. Like, we'll start over again. We'll
Yeah.
take it. And
Yeah.
and that's really was the case, is we were turning over homes on the back end that had several $100,000 worth of equity just in that growth of a 10-month build time or a 12-month build time, depending on what it was. And the reason that exists is that's the partnership between us creating for a homeowner. We run a great business and we want to be fair about our pricing and the way that we do what we do, but we are not just a margin or just a ROI build. Well, your production builder is.
Yeah.
So in one sense, something that a production builder can offer a client in the form of an incentive, we cannot offer, but that's because their margin is maximized already. They're giving them the minimal amount of home value and product for the maximum amount of money.
Yep.
The reason they can provide something that I can't is because we're not.
They're buying in huge quantities too, because they're building.
Yeah, so there's a volume discount that they get also that we don't, but we're providing them the absolute most value that we can with the least amount of return for us as a builder, right? I mean, we have to run a business, so we need to get paid for what we do, but it's a different mindset for sure. Yeah,
well, and then you guys, I think, having the expertise and knowing, again, your background, and I know with your partner too, like you guys are having a background in building and the trades, the different trades. I mean, when it comes to cabinets, and I know a lot of these things are, where to find the right deal, the best value. I'll say, the best value, and maybe give people those custom options that feel custom. That feel.
And that was a big part of our strength too. Is my business partner's background really was specifically in building. Both in the production builder. He worked out of college for several production builders here in the West Valley. Came from a family, like his father was a longtime production build guy, retired as a VP for a big production builder. And so he grew up, in the trades as a little kid, like most kids who grow up, mine have now experienced that on the other end with us in this business is, picking up nails with a magnet and sweeping out houses and whatever every single week. And so he grew up really with a lot of knowledge in that, but also with a lot of contacts for great trades that do good work. Our plumber is a second or third generation plumber, same family that my partner's father was using, 40 years ago. And so West Valley people, all people, that you see that cycle. And so when you're involved in that business, it really helps you connect with people that are going to do good work, that are honest people, that are putting out the kind of product that you expect.
That align with your values and everything.
Yep.
So that just completely, that was the perfect segue into what I want to ask you next, which is, I know, obviously you're the one I refer. I mean, just because I think you take a holistic approach with people, and I know that you care about not only their experience, but the final product, and that you're aligning with, goals. Everybody's got a different reason for why they want to build a house and what they want to do. But I think a lot of it does come back to legacy at times, like they do want to do something on their own. And I feel like you guys have I know you have a holistic approach to that, just in knowing the person and getting to know them. Where do you think in that, where do you think the West Valley is headed? It's kind of a bigger question, but as far as the holistic approach for the West Valley, I think having small businesses and the growth that we're seeing right now, of course you're going to have big chains and all those kind of things that are happening for us. But what do you think with the growth out here right now?
I mean, I think that first of all, there's a massive opportunity for growth. I mean, when you look at the West Valley, if we talk about Buckeye specifically and the landmass, the size that Buckeye is as a city, there's more available opportunity there than anywhere else in the valley. So we of course want to be a part of that. But I think from a legacy standpoint, I love to drive by homes that we've built in the past, and to be able to see something and to see kids playing in the front yard, and to see, that some of those have become sort of their own little neighborhoods and stuff. And I think that's what's valuable to us from a legacy standpoint is, maybe we're fairly new and maybe we're, small in size as far as the volume that we're building. But I think that because this town is a town that we love and we live and we work in, we're going to build here forever. And, it will be neat 30 years from now to be able to look back and go, hey, back in 2020, we built this, this little community of homes. And so that's the legacy part for me, is just something that you're building, something that never goes away. I mean, our hope is that people have these homes for hundreds of years, or they turn them over to their children or to their grandchildren. And so that takes building a product that can last that long, quality construction. But B, really just investing in the place that you live and you build. This is not just a business to make money for us. This is a life. And that's legacy, long after we're done building our homes that we built, that somebody can go, hey, he's not even alive anymore, but the guy that built that, I never knew anybody that cared as much about their business and their reputation as that guy did. So
I think that is so critically important. And when we talk about legacy on this, podcast, I say often, like, I don't want to have to pass away, be dead, to really like say, oh, she left a legacy. It's like what you leave within, right, people, and whether that's your kids and your family, whether that's your clients, and how you interact, and I guess the level of care that you put into helping them build their dream home, and all these things, that is the legacy, right? Like that. To me, that's the quality work. But you just nailed it. I mean, couldn't have been. I thought it was like maybe segueing and baiting you into that thing, but you just took it way further, because I do feel like our community is so important here. It's important to me.
It's a home. So I mean, if you think about like where memories are made, like of your kids growing up, or all the things that happen in your life. I mean, it's the biggest investment that people typically make in their life in most instances, right? And so I just feel really blessed and grateful that we have an opportunity to help create that for people. And that's what it boils down to. So
I mean, how cool is it too? Like, it's always exciting because obviously, Jay's, my husband's a builder, and you guys are friends, and you're a much better builder than he is. Just kidding.
Ouch.
I had to give him some, because he's going to watch this and be like,
I agree, but it's fine.
But it's so cool. I've always said that one of the things that turned us on to real estate so early on was the fact that it was something physically, like it was tangible. It was real. It's real. Real estate, real property. And I think that's like, I couldn't agree with that more. One other, we're talking a lot about like ground up construction here and what you do with Centerline, but Centerline also does, renovate. Like you will go in and do renovation, and what a great niche that is too. If you've got somebody who just loves, you find people that, speaking of legacy, they love their community. They already love where they live. They don't actually want to move. This neighborhood is really unique to that, this Litchfield Park, because of, inside the walls is like this coveted, coveted thing. I'm inside, it's a thing out here, right? And we've watching those. And just like many neighborhoods, you maybe just don't want to leave a particular school district, or whatever the reasoning behind it is. And so talk about renovation, because I think coming in and what's possible. I mean, to take an older home and do something really cool with it.
No, it's interesting that you asked that, because I personally live in one that's 70 years old that's been renovated a handful of times now. Yeah. And being in the industry, building homes ground up from scratch, but living in something that created a whole new set of limitations for me, is you've got this to work with. Yeah. So from a creative standpoint, I think, from a design, a creation side of it, you're really getting to let those creative juices flow, and create a really neat product. But also, a lot of times that's keeping a home in a location that you can't recreate. Like this neighborhood specifically just can't be recreated. It's not going to be. No. Multiple golf courses, 110-year-old hotel resort. There's a lot of things that are very detailed and specific about Litchfield Park itself, but sure, I could have gone anywhere to any number of the places that we're building homes, that we own land, and built a home exactly the way that I wanted and had no limitations, so from a renovation standpoint, there's a lot of way to capture value that's already there in the home, that leaving that home is value that you've got to leave one way or another, or at best, maybe it's value that you're getting to trade. So you've got good equity in a home. You're contemplating, do we renovate this home, or do we sell it and go start over? So locationally is usually a big driver on the renovation. Is we love the place that we're in. We can't recreate this somewhere else, so let's make it the way that we want to do that. And then there are so many things that you can do. I mean, you can completely restructure the interior of the home. You can change the way the bedrooms lay out. You can change the way the bathrooms are. A lot of older homes were not designed with a lot of good intention. They were very choppy and broken up and segregated, in the way the rooms were set up. But
it feels like people must have been shorter and cared less about hygiene because there's like low roofs and there are low door frames. I always find it really funny. I'm like, did we just grow I think we have actually as a population, but anyway, no, it's true. Limitations. I mean, you're going to have to, I've seen them pop the ceilings up and,
rip the roof off and go forward. So I think that's a very good opportunity for a lot of folks, because you've got equity in a home already. So you continue increasing the value and the equity of what you're living in, and making it more livable for what your life changes, right? So what you need as you continue to grow and your family continues to grow also change. For the longest time when we grew up, our kid's bedroom was the shared wall with our master bedroom. This is a 1950s house. Obviously, as you get older, you're not really excited about sharing a wall with your teenage son anymore.
No, you're not.
So when those things change, you can make those changes and adapt to that with the way that you're recreating through renovation. So
do you see your kids working in your business at some point?
They both say no. I don't, it's hard to say.
I just had to ask that because it occurred to me there.
This can be, construction can be a very challenging business. You hear a lot about it. It's obviously something that can take a toll on your health, both mentally and physically. And you have to be very intentional about combating that. You've got to change that mindset. Everybody sees the old construction guy with his, butt crack hanging out of his pants. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not, but overweight, sloppy guy eating a cheeseburger, or whatever. And it's like, that's just not the way that it is. And you can't even mentally, I don't believe, survive in this game anymore without really thinking about your health, both mentally and physically. And so I think that, my kids see the struggles of it. They don't get to experience the same part of the value that I experienced driving away from a homeowner who's just super happy and they're so grateful for what we, helped them create. They don't get to feel that emotion that I feel as the owner of this business. So they maybe just see the late night phone calls or the stress or me laying on the floor in the living room trying to get my life back together. So maybe as they grow older and understand that a lot of dynamics of life and business have their challenges no matter what they are, maybe they'll go, you know what, our dads have put a lot of effort into creating this business, or our parents all together. I mean, it really takes the team of all of us. It is not Larry or myself. It's our wives, our kids. Everybody pays the price for building this business. So maybe someday. Larry's got a couple boys too, so maybe they'll be the ones. So
well, and it's funny because I say that too about excuse me, all entrepreneurialism, right? Like no matter what it is, I mean, it's you're building an asset as a business too, right? Not just real estate being an asset itself, but it is. I grew up with two entrepreneurial parents, so I didn't know anything else. I mean, I worked in corporate America for a very short amount of time. But I know you did. You worked in corporate America for a while. What would you say have been the biggest, obviously you're passionate about what you do. You can hear it. But leaving corporate America to build something like you're doing now, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think that it's bittersweet, and there's some amazing wins that you could never get. You never get to go to bed feeling the way that you feel. At least I never did, from a corporate America standpoint, or working for a big company. So the wins and losses maybe are magnified because I also, when I go to bed at night and there's a challenge or there's something that we're trying to overcome together as a team, there's not an army of corporate America that cares to help me figure this out. It's our, my partner, myself, our families, or whatever. So.
Your brain, your money,
your
sweat equity. Yeah.
So it's that has definitely been a different dynamic. But when it comes to the legacy part of it for me, that's that's what's most important. So 20 or 30 years from now, to know that we built something, and there's that little part about, hey, if you miss 100% of the shots, you don't, there's all the cliche things, right, about not going and doing something. But I had more than one conversation, even with you and Jay, about this at that time, where I was teetering on 100 hours a week of work between having, a corporate regular daytime job. And when Larry and I had initially, started Centerline for the first several years,
you were doing both,
nights, weekends, and any available minute trying to build it. And I don't regret that. I think that was the right move for us. I think it's why we're successful today, for a lot of reasons. But at the end of the day, 30 years from now, I want to look back and go, we built that, and not just us. I mean, it's not a personal thing. It took everybody. It took our clients. It took our friends. It takes our trade partners. Like, we're not the superstar in this picture by any means. We're really just like the herder of the people. So
it's so true. We before me.
That's
you see this guy driving around, and that's his license plate. I love it. It's really true. You live it. I mean, you really do live it.
And that's both a mental and emotional, a spiritual stance for me in life, but it's the way that we run our business. And Larry and I decided from day one that we would never make a decision based on finances solely, and business can be very difficult, and people that make wrong turns in business and become bad business owners usually are motivated or making decisions that are fueled by a financial reason. And we've taken countless hits in our growth of business because we knew that things will happen, and things go wrong in construction. That is just the nature of this business. And there are far too many people that try to find a reason to excuse themselves out of the accountability of those things. And we said from day one, if it's wrong, it's going to be fixed. It's going to be fixed on our dime, and we will always do whatever the right thing is to do. Is a lot of times whether they know it or not. I mean, we pull siding off a home that's not done right because the separation offset was incorrect. 99 out of 100 people don't know it, and we know it. And then all of a sudden a homeowner pulls up and all the siding's pulled off their home, and they go, what happened? And so that's kind of our process from that standpoint is, and again, to tie it back to the legacy thing is like, you have to care about it to that level to know that 30 years from now, there's truly a legacy of the way you built your company. So.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, even with, you do put a lot on social media, excuse me. And I love it because you get to see actually, things come along. Like I said, you start to finish, and you get to see along the way. But I think you're right. Like, you want your referral-based business. People are going to tell people, what you did and how you built it, and how you acted when something didn't go exactly as planned. And so, I mean, doing the right thing is always the right thing.
Yeah. And I think that, we're trying to get better at that. Just in all transparency. That's a necessary part of business, is marketing your business. I had maybe a more old school approach. I think Larry and I both did for the first several years as we were getting started. I've been challenged from a standpoint of marketing with social media, or with, we've got a great group of builder friends. There's a network of builders that we're a part of, that have really been able to help and speak into, guys that have been in this game longer than we've been alive, that have really been able to help encourage us along the way with the value of that part of it. But in my mind was always, I'd rather give you the cell phone number to the last 5 people that we built a home for, and just have you call them and ask them. And part of that, I think matters, and I think it's true, is that I can put anything on social media. I could post a picture today that's not even my home, and it's with a following our size, which is fairly small. Nobody may ever even know the difference, right? And so that's what gets hard with social media is, between AI and doctored photos and all of these things, like, it gets a lot easier. And you can kind of get drowned out by luxury, beautiful homes and beautifully designed homes, because there's just so many
eye appeal.
Many eye appeal things. So I've always cared about somebody's personal reference to us. That's always, and probably always will be, the most valuable thing to me. But we did take some advice. We finally built a website last year, really just a landing page for people to go and find out
who you are.
What are we about?
Yeah.
What do we stand for? How do you get connected with us? What does our process look like, from a fairly high level? And then now, just trying to keep up on our projects and post progress as things are going. Construction is one of those things that's not pretty until it's done. So you spend 10, 12, 14 months building something and it's really only photo ready at the end. But trying to navigate and show people what you're doing as you go is neat too. And we've even had some great opportunities to connect with some of our customers during that process, right? If you think about a homeowner being able to walk through their home at the time it's being framed and catch some pictures of them, writing cool sayings on the walls or things that they want to do, or kids putting their handprints in the foundation before it's going to, get covered up. And that's really neat. So really documenting that part, I think, is really valuable. And it shows, I guess, our connection and our impact with our customers on a more personal level.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
So we're getting better.
Yeah.
We're trying to.
No. Well, and I mean, it's the same with us. We don't, there's so much that goes on in the mortgage side of things, to try to compete with just the $100 million budgets for marketing, it's like a joke, right? Yeah. I would much rather serve a community, do it really well, and have my last client tell 5 people. We were so thrilled.
I agree. And it is really important. So I don't want to say that there's not value in making sure that you're marketing your business, but I guess I know our business and I know how we operate. I know our level of integrity. I know a lot about us, but somebody that's just seeing us from the outside doesn't know that if I don't tell them that.
Yeah.
So there's 20 homeowners that you can go talk to, give or take. I don't know what home number we're on exactly, but and that's great. But from a marketing standpoint, I want somebody to be able to understand what we're about if they don't personally know us yet. If they personally know us, they know. So
if you know, then you know, right? Your website does look great too. I hadn't even been to it until we were getting ready for this, and I was like, I'm going to go check out and see what he's actually got out there. But it's really good, and I think it tells the story of you and Larry and backgrounds and all that. So I know you are actually building kind of another. You're also obviously believe in real estate, and you've redesigned your house here in Litchfield Park, and it's amazing and beautiful. But you're building a memory maker. I'm going to call it a memory maker now, right?
We are.
You're building a memory maker again. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Kind of
So we're in the middle of a project up in northern Arizona, small town called Happy Jack. Really nothing to do there except maybe go play bingo at the Happy Jack Lodge during the summer months.
It's a popular spot.
So that's an investment property project for my wife and I, for our family, and really was birthed out of. I guess, I know I'm overusing the legacy thing, but my in-laws, they're retired, having a place to go during the summer, a place to go visit, a place for our friends to go visit, a place for couples that want to go spend a weekend away from their kids and have some time to just relax and veg out. Like, that's our intention with it. It's hard to say exactly what it will become. And since we started, we took on another project up there for a homeowner. So we're in the design stage right now. They'll be our neighbor to the back of us. So we'll be
control the design a little bit.
So we'll be building what we look at off of our back patio. And they're a great family. That's going to be really neat. Also. And so, that's exciting. And that's something that, I remember being maybe, 12, 13 years old. And I remember at the time, my mom and dad had bought a piece of property up here in the same area. And their intention was at some point to build a place that they could go up to in the mountains. For various reasons, they did not do that. And both of them have since passed. But to have something that our kids or our grandkids, that's what's really neat about it. And of course, it has a lot of great investment. It has a lot of great purpose to it. There's a lot of things that it helps along the way too. But it directly ties back to that long lasting investment in our future and our family, and not just financially, but emotionally. It's something that really ties your future life together. So it sounds, from when you first told us about it, it sounds like it's super in alignment with your vision for your life and your family. And so it makes sense. I think that we just put a lot of intention into the way and the reason that we do the things that we do. I am a big time podcast guy. I'm a big time book guy. If there's a book or a podcast on growing a business or being smart with finances or any of those things, I've probably read it or listened to the audiobook or whatever. And I love that. I love to just consume as much of that as I can. But I think sometimes like my emotional capacity to want to be more successful and more financially free and have better future legacy for my family and for my, my children's children. A lot of that is like the combination of those two things is I think what helps us to be successful in our adventures. Is it's not just about money or, there's a good balance of why we're choosing to do the things that we're doing, to be intentional about the moves that we're making. So
I love it. And if you're building a house and you're not calling Colin, I don't know. Colin. I mean, you are like my number one referral for all things building, renovation. I mean, it's amazing. So I thank you. I mean, I think we covered totally out of the order I had here, but it was like the perfect, fluid conversation. Any last thing you want to add? Oh, you even have your week before me.
I do. No, I mean, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I was a little bit hesitant and kind of scared to be in here with all these cameras and fancy stuff. But we're just excited. We are on an adventure that we love and just really excited to see the things that the future have for us, for our customers, our friends. I mean, every client that we've built a home for is truly considered a friend of ours to this day.
Building your network of friends.
So it's been great.
Well, I love it. I know I can't wait to see how it all unfolds, but I already know the story is going to be a great one. So thank you for being here today. This has been a really big topic because everybody's been asking a lot about building, and I do construction lending and we do the renovation loans. And so, but it is really important to be working with somebody who knows what they're doing. So I will say that is a big factor in it. And there are a lot of great contractors and there are some that are not so good. So
maybe I will just add on to that in the sense that ask the question. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's our business model. You can find us on Instagram, or you can find us at our website, or you can find us lots of different ways, but get the right people involved before you make any steps. And that's probably the most critical thing that you can do. And you're not bugging us. If you're reaching out to other builders because you need some input and you need some help and you're not getting that, then we're here. But that's very important to a homeowner in that voyage in towards building, is making sure they understand exactly how the process works and what they're getting into. So please reach out to us, even if you just have questions or you just want to understand about the process. You're not bugging us. Like that's what we want to do. That's what we're here for. So
I love it. Okay, so all of the information to reach out to Colin and Centerline Homes will be in the notes below the show. If you love the show today, please forward and subscribe and call us. I mean, reach out. It was awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Stacy.